This is the second of a two-part series, a short one, on what it takes to be a real team. And as with the first in this series of two, I shall start with John Katzenbach, who's written for decades about what real teams, as opposed to working groups, are all about and how they're different one from another. And he says a real team is a small number of people with complementary skills who are committed to a common purpose, performance goals, and an approach for which they hold themselves mutually accountable. Now, again, I went through this in a bit of detail in the first one. I'll run through this quickly. A real team is a small number of people, complementary skills, not the same skills, skills which actually enhance each other's, who are committed to a common purpose, very often stated explicitly, this is why we exist, performance goals which are measured, and an approach for which they hold themselves mutually accountable. Accountability is something that is crucially important in a real team. So let's move on. Let's see what I've got left here to go over in part two of this short series. So 6 things that leaders of high-performing teams do well. For starters, they are sensitive to the needs, interests, and concerns of the people in the team. So a leader of a team, which is a real team, actually is alive to, alert to what people are interested in, concerned about, and what their individual needs are within that team. And they could differ significantly. Secondly, they listen to ideas. They listen to dreams, is a powerful word, and plans. So a real leader of a real team is someone who is alert, listens, and is interested in their team members. Equally and reciprocally, a team leader shares their dreams, visions, and plans. This is what I want. This is what I'm concerned about. This is what worries me. This is what I want us to achieve together. So there is a lot of explicit sharing of what that team's ambitions are from the perspective of the leader. Fourthly, the leader of a high-performing real team involves the team in goal setting and problem solving. This leader has a style which is participative, which is collective, which doesn't rest on their own ego. The leader of a real team is someone that says that you sensible people have got ideas on this. They aren't all mine, and they don't feel the need to get all the ideas and give all the direction themselves. Next, they delegate and trust. They give significant responsibility within the team. So recognizing the abilities, the expertise, the capability within that team, the leader of that team is in the fortunate position of being able to say, I don't have to do all this. Some of you are better at this than I am. And again, that takes a bit of ego management. So lastly, of the 6 things leaders of high-performing teams do well is that they are honest and open about their own mistakes and vulnerabilities. Now, that takes a bit of trust in the team. It takes a bit of courage for a leader to be honest and open about their own mistakes and vulnerabilities. It's about saying, that was down to me. I made this mistake. How many people have experienced a team leader who's prepared to do that, that doesn't feel they've got to somehow tough it out when everyone knows what really happened and make it look like something else did? So a real team's leader is honest and open about their own mistakes and vulnerabilities. This is all very powerful stuff. So I shall move on. 6 measures from Amy Edmondson, who's extremely strong on this. 6 measures of a high-performing team. I'm enjoying this. The first of these, well, the first 2 of these, I'll put 2 up at a time because I'm working from slides here, anyone on the podcast. The first measure of a high-performing team is mistakes are not held against members. So if a team is to work well, if individuals within that are to perform to the best of their capabilities, they and the team itself will be pushing constantly for higher performance, to move out of what they've done well into new areas where there's less guarantee of success, where there's learning. And so mistakes are not held against members in a high-performing team, so long as that mistake was made in pursuance of a goal which was not achieved, perhaps, or at least not immediately, but could be. In other words, was it an honest mistake in an effort to use learning, to experiment with new behavior, to achieve something? Or was it a mistake out of carelessness, out of lack of, I don't know, caring? So in a real team, we expect people to make mistakes for good reasons, and they're not held against people. Secondly, another measure of a high-performing team is that problems and tough issues are worked upon. There isn't evasion. There isn't a denial of issues that are staring in the face. There are no elephants in the room. So in a real high-performing team, problems and tough issues are worked upon. In a real team, differences are seen as strengths. I see too many teams that are composed of broadly the same people, the same ethnicity, the same age group, the same backgrounds, the same so many things. And I think a real team recognizes that there is differentiation. There is a lack of complete sameness. Sameness, I think, is a weakness in teams. Differences are seen as strengths. Differences means that different elements of all sorts of things, skills, perspective, experience, can be brought to that team. Differences are seen as strengths. In a high-performing team, number 4 of the 6 measures from Amy Edmondson is that it is safe to take risks. Conversely, in a low-performing team, take a risk, you could be in trouble. Take a risk, everyone delights perhaps in saying, wow, you've done it again. In a real team, it's safe to take risks because so long as those risks are not foolhardy, so long as those risks are for the best reasons, the team members would say, hey, you tried, you did the right thing, it didn't work out. So it's safe to take risks. It's safe to constantly try and get better, for instance, is what you do. This is what real teams do. In a real team, team members seek help and learn from each other. Again, that in a less strong team might be seen as a weakness. Oh, you need help? You aren't perfect like me? Oh, well, that's unfortunate for you. In a high-performing team, team members seek help. I need help. I'm not as good at this as I want to be. I could do with some help from people here or whatever. Who can help me? Who can point something out to what I can do on this? And it's an okay conversation to have in a real team because people don't feel that they're going to be ridiculed or be held against them. They have trust in each other. So in a real team, unique skills and talents are valued and utilized. And so often in collections of people that don't deserve being called a real team, that isn't the case. That the unique skills and talents are overlooked, or people who think, well, I could really bring something to this issue, but I don't think people want to hear that. For all sorts of reasons, the capabilities, the contribution people can make in teams is too often not made the most of, or is overlooked or dismissed. But in a strong team, in a real team, in a high-performing team, unique skills and talents are made the best of. So 8 signs of a great team. 8 signs of a great team. Oh, I'm thoroughly enjoying this. So the first sign, and this comes from David Kirk, who was the All Black rugby winning captain of the first World Cup team back a long time ago. So David Kirk knows a thing or two as an All Black rugby captain about what it takes to be a great team because he was a captain of one. And briefly, I'll go through these. The first of these is vision, clear messaging about what is critical. Well, that is so fundamental. How often does it happen in collections of people that don't deserve to be called a real team? In a real team, there is absolute clarity about what is critical, what the vision is, what the purpose is of that team. Secondly, belief. Belief by all in the team in the capability of individual contribution. Now, there's a lot in there. Everybody in the team is clear that everybody, including themselves, has a contribution to make, what that is, and where it fits with everyone else. There's much more I could go to in all this, but we just don't have time. There's clarity, another sign of a great team. Clarity of each member's role and expectations. So yes, I've already mentioned that to a degree. I know why I'm here. I know what I'm here to contribute. I know where I fit against other people, and I won't overlap with that. There is ability. In a great team, there's ability. There is mastery of skills driving performance. In other words, in a great team, you've got people at the top of their game. In a great team, you've got people who are not learning to be great. They're already great. Now, greatness is continuous. It isn't something you achieve and sit on for the next 30 years. Part of being great is the desire to keep getting greater. In a great team, there is ability, there is a mastery of skills driving performance. There's also learning, I mentioned that a moment or two ago, an insatiable hunger to improve. The very best teams, we're describing one here as an All Black World Cup winning team. In the very best teams, there's humility. There is the humility to say, hey, I'm good, but I can be better. We're good, but we can be better. You don't lose that hunger to grow, to develop, to be better still than you are. There's also discipline. In a great team, there's discipline, respectfully supporting each other. Discipline in terms of each person's individual performance, discipline also collectively. And a really great team doesn't need very often an authority figure to sort out people who, for whatever reason, step out of line. The norms, the values, the beliefs in that team are clear. And if people step outside of that, the team is able, by one means or another, to say, that isn't what we expect of you here. In a great team, there's leadership. Of course there is. That is to a degree a shared issue, because people within that team have expertise and capability to take leadership on specific issues. Nonetheless, whether it's a captain, whether it's a manager, whether it's a leader, whatever they're called, that leadership is, David Kirk suggests, subtle and facilitative, not too direct. Charles Handy said, intelligent people prefer to agree than to obey. People in a great team are intelligent people. They don't want to be told things. They need direction. They need a degree of guidance, but they don't need people telling them what to do all the time. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yes, I've got there. Focus is the last of David Kirk's signs of a great team. Focus meaning maintaining energy without distractions. So difficult. There's so many distractions of one form or another. A great team is able to focus on their vision, to have the discipline to achieve what's expected of them by themselves. And that focus means they maintain energy and direction without distractions, or at least they don't allow the distractions to become unhelpful in achieving their goals. Nice one, David Kirk. I think that's a very credible list from a very credible source. So finally, on this series of just a few slides that I'm going through for podcast listeners, 8 indicators of a fully functioning team. So here they come. I'll go through them again quickly. People care about each other. And one indicator of a fully functioning team is that people care. That's too easily skimmed over. How many people in the workplace truly care about each other and are cared for by others? In a real team, that happens. That's why it's a special space. There's a high level of trust. People feel it's okay to go out on a limb because their backs will be covered. They don't feel that people will snidely point the finger of blame at people. There's a high level of trust. People feel that they belong to a collective because people care about each other. Decisions in a fully functioning team are made by consensus. Maybe not always. Well, this is a definite statement. They are made by consensus as an ideal. And I think as an ideal in a real team, you can get nearer towards. Sometimes there'll be dissent, but it will be a largely more democratic collective process than in a working group or a less good team. So in a fully functioning team, the 4th point is that people are open, they're honest, and they're truthful. They don't keep thoughts and concerns to themselves. In a real team, people would say, I'd like to raise this issue because I think it's important that we do. There might be a, whoa, that's going to be difficult, but that's what happens in a fully functioning team. People are open, they are honest, and they're truthful. Let's not skirt around this. Let's be absolutely truthful about this. Let's face up to this rather than skirt around it. These things point out that there aren't too many real teams out there, I suggest. The 5th indicator of a fully functioning team is that conflict is faced up to and worked through. Conflict in a lot of collective groups is a no-go area. It's the elephant in the room. It's the issues that people know exist, but that there's no will to go into. There's fear that there could be repercussions, there could be implications for people, so we just won't do it. In a real team, conflict is faced up to. Let's talk about this, which is going to be difficult for us to work through, but let's do it and let's get better as a result. That is, for me, one of the key indicators of a fully functioning real team, conflict management. Ideas and feelings are listened to fully. That means in a real team, people are respectful to each other. They're interested in each other. They don't just tolerate each other. They want to know more about people's ideas. They want to give people a platform to fully explore what it is they've got to say. There's a strong team identity and commitment. Well, there is if you put on a shirt and play in a sports team. But in any other team, it's interesting to think, what is the identity of that team? How do they differentiate themselves from the rest? Is it by their location? Is it by their norms and behavior? By whatever means, there is a strong team identity and commitment from and within the team. So there you go. And in a team, a real team functioning well, feelings are expressed freely and openly. I've been in one such team, and it felt a really powerful experience to be able to say, right now I'm feeling this. And that can make you feel quite exposed. It can be, for many people, an insecure place. In a real team, feelings, how you feel, your emotions are a legitimate space. And you feel, because you trust people and because they care about you, that is a legitimate thing to do. Oh, if only we saw more of this. So thank you very much, Casey and Critchley. I've had this list for a very long time, back into the 80s, and it still is relevant now as it was then. So that's all I really want to go through in series, the second part of the series of 2 on what it takes to be a real team.